What if the most important call you made today wasn't to your partner, your therapist, your boss, or even your best friend, but to the one who created you? What if, before the meetings, the messages, the mental battles, you paused long enough to hear a voice not coming from the outside world, but from within, from the eternal? Every morning, we awaken into a storm of distractions. Alarms jolt us out of rest, notifications flash like sirens for our attention, and our minds instantly race to tasks left unfinished, bills unpaid, relationships unresolved. Even before our feet hit the floor, we are already sprinting inwardly, pulled by 100 invisible threads. But if you peel back the noise, if you slow your soul for just a moment, you'll discover a sacred space, quiet, fragile, pure. It's that liminal place between sleep and wakefulness, between striving and surrender. A moment when heaven leans in. A moment we were never meant to bypass. And yet, how often do we miss it? We stumble right past it into autopilot, scrolling aimlessly through feeds, checking emails, reliving yesterday's drama, or forecasting today's anxieties. We default to distraction, to comfort, to control. We look outward before we ever look upward. But what would shift in our lives if, in that fragile space, we turned not to the world, but to God? I used to live in that pattern. Solving before seeking. Reacting before resting. Trying to carry the weight of everything on my own. I remember nights when I'd wake at 2 or 3 a.m., eyes wide open, my chest tight, the silence of the room magnifying the noise in my head. Thoughts spinning out of control, financial stress, health concerns, relational heartbreak. And my reflex? Try harder. Fix it. Google it. Bury it. But I never found peace in those places, only temporary relief that soon gave way to deeper fatigue. What life has taught me is simple and profound. Peace isn't found in control, it's found in surrender. Not in knowing all the answers, but in trusting the one who does. Jeremiah once wrote, "You will seek me and find me, when you search for me with all your heart." That's not a poetic suggestion, it's a sacred promise, extended to every soul brave enough to admit it needs help. It's not reserved for the pure or the perfect, it's meant for the messy, the confused, the weary, and the wandering. The beautiful thing is, God isn't hiding. He doesn't play games with your desperation. He's not keeping score, waiting for you to get your act together before he meets with you. He's simply waiting. Patiently. Lovingly. Eternally. Waiting for you to lift your gaze from the chaos and find his eyes already fixed on you. I once met an elderly man in a hospital chapel, Howard. His wife, the love of his life for nearly 5 decades, was battling a cancer that showed no mercy. Every day, he would sit in the third pew, hands folded, whispering quiet prayers into the silence. One day I sat beside him and gently asked, "Do you ever wonder if God hears you?" He didn't answer right away. But when he did, his voice cracked through years of hope and heartbreak. "Son, I don't pray because I'm guaranteed an answer, I pray because I know he's listening." That line stayed with me. Because deep down, isn't that what every human heart aches for? To be heard. To be seen. To be known. Not fixed, not figured out, just known. Calling on God isn't about saying the perfect words. It's not about spiritual eloquence. It's about showing up with your whole heart, raw, unfiltered, honest. It's about trusting that even in your confusion, He understands. Even in your silence, He listens. But so often, instead of turning to Him, we turn elsewhere. We chase security in our savings accounts. We define ourselves by job titles and social media bios. We seek affection from broken people, and affirmation from strangers. We try to prove our worth through performance, and numb our wounds through consumption. And still, the ache remains. Because the ache was never meant to be silenced, it was meant to be answered. That ache is not a defect, it's a design. It's your soul's compass pointing home. And when you ignore it, when you silence the longing with temporary comforts, you might find momentary relief, but you won't find rest. No vacation, no nap, no spa day can reach the level of exhaustion that comes from being spiritually disconnected. That kind of tired seeps deep. It weighs down your joy. It fogs your vision. It dulls your hope. But here's the good news: God isn't aloof. He's not distant or distracted. He's not scrolling through someone else's prayers while you cry alone in the dark. No, He bends down. He leans in. The same God who holds galaxies in place, who paints sunsets with His breath and names every star, that God listens when you whisper His name. And that truth shatters me every time I think about it. Because the problem has never been His distance. The problem is our distraction. Our inability to pause long enough to recognize the nearness of God. And I've seen it over and over again. People only call on Him when they've reached the end of themselves. When the bottom falls out. When the job disappears, the diagnosis lands, the relationship breaks, the control crumbles. And you know what they say afterward, almost without fail? "I wish I had come to Him sooner." Why? Because in that place beyond solutions, beyond logic, they found something far more powerful: presence. Your heart was made to be rooted in eternity. When it's tethered to temporary things, everything feels unstable. But when it's anchored in the eternal, you can withstand storms that would destroy others. I think of Rachel, a young woman I counseled who was left at the altar figuratively, and almost literally. 2 weeks before her wedding, her fiancé confessed an affair and disappeared. She was devastated, humiliated, unsure if she'd ever believe in anything again. But in the ashes of her life, she made a choice few do. She began her mornings in prayer. Not eloquent, not long, some days all she could say was, "God, I don't understand." But she kept showing up. and God met her there. In time, that prayer became a healing path. And today, she leads a community for women recovering from betrayal. Her pain became purpose not because she forced it, but because she handed it over. That's what calling on God does. It doesn't always change our circumstances, but it always changes us. It reshapes sorrow into strength. It transforms wounds into wisdom. It trades anxiety for assurance. And best of all, God speaks back. Jeremiah 33:3 says, "Call to me and I will answer you, and show you great and unsearchable things you do not know." He's not just a comforter, he's a revealer. He doesn't just soothe you, he sends you. He gives clarity where there was chaos, vision where there was only survival. But to receive it, you have to make space. You have to choose him first, not as a last resort, but as your first call. Prayer is not a task. It's not religious duty. It's oxygen for the soul. It's where confusion meets clarity, where fear meets faith, where brokenness meets healing. I've sat in prison cells, hospital rooms, boardrooms, living rooms, and in each place, I've watched people cry out to the same God, and I've seen him show up. Maybe not always how they expected, but always with the same gentleness, the same power, the same presence. And I believe right now, as you listen, he's calling you too. Not because he needs anything from you, but because he wants to give you everything you actually need. He wants your mornings, your midnights, your questions, your tears. He wants the parts of you you've hidden from everyone else. Because he's the only one who can take it all and give peace in return. So, if you're carrying something, an unspoken grief, an unsolved problem, an unnamed fear, call on him. Before you open another tab, before you scroll, before you reach for another solution, whisper his name. Sob it, if you must. Just speak. He listens. He responds. And he never turns away. That's not a fantasy. That's a covenant. A history-proven, blood-sealed truth. He has done it before. For Moses in the wilderness. For David in the cave. For Hannah in the temple. For Paul in the prison. And he will do it again for you. Because he is still the God who comes close. He still speaks in silence. He still binds up wounds and brings light into midnight hearts. He still brings beauty from ashes. But he waits for the ask. So let this be your turning point. Not through effort, but surrender. Lay it all down, your striving, your timeline, your shame, your questions, and simply say, God, I need you before I need anything else. Let that be your first call. Not just today, but every day. Because when you seek him with all your heart, you don't just find answers, you find him. And when you find him, you find everything your soul was always searching for.